Okay. In racing, there is a phrase that we use to describe the best of the best of the best drivers. These are the drivers that are consistently on the podium race after race. These are the guys that the rest of us strive to beat. These are the fast guys. Now, in Ultra 4 racing, there's probably 8 to 10 drivers that are referred to as the fast guys. And an example of that would be, there's been 13 King of the Hammers races. It's only been won by 6 different individual drivers. So it's a very elite, talented group of individuals. And on the West Coast, the courses open up and are so long, these fast guys get way out front early and you don't really get a chance to compete against them too much. You kind of end up running your own race. But on the East Coast, the tracks are more compact and tight, and weather plays into the conditions. And so you end up getting an opportunity to really drive bumper to bumper with some of the best talent in the nation. Today I'm going to tell a story about a race in Bedford, Kentucky called the Dirty Turtle Off-Road Park. And this was an Ultra 4 event where we had several of the fast guys that came out to play. Now, like all East Coast races, the week was torrential downpours. So it was incredibly muddy. And now everyone in off-road racing knows that mud is the ultimate talent equalizer. It brings everybody together. And this race, unlike any other East Coast race, was muddy. So we get through the week, it's qualifying day, and we ended up qualifying like 18th, I think, out of 38, 40 cars. So we're right there in the middle. So not a terrible qualifying. We get to race day, green flag drops, and everyone's off, and it's a muddy mess. Well, on the first lap, we're coming around this corner and we sink down into this ravine. And it was washed out and there's water and rocks and roots and everything. But the hillside on either side was like 30-degree angle, so super steep. And as we're winding our way through this area, we look up and there's this race car on like the side of the hill plowing through trees like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And we're like, what on earth is that guy doing up there? And he's mowing over trees and it's kind of like coming down, chiseling down the mountainside. And actually, it looks like he's going to come down on top of us. So I floor it and he comes down right behind us. And we happen to see at the last second, it was the number 81 4400 car driven by Mr. Levi Shirley. So I think at that time, Levi was battling for first place in national points. So we knew right away we had one of the fast guys behind us. Now, when you're racing and there's a faster guy behind you, there's a common phrase called jackrabbiting. And to be a jackrabbit, what that means is you're in your race and a faster guy catches you, and instead of getting out of the way and letting him pass, you floor it and start out driving your own talent to keep this guy from passing you. So naturally, with Levi behind us, what do? We jackrabbited. So I floor it, and I'm racing, past my skill set, and he still catches us, gives us a siren, and we pull over and give him some room. And right in the area that he passed us turned into this like swampy, muddy mess. And he slams on the brakes and locks up all 4 tires and goes sliding like 30 yards, crashing into this tree. We were going so fast, I slam on the brakes, we lock up and go sliding 30 yards into Levi. And we hit so hard, I felt like one of those crash test dummies that you see in a commercial. My head and my arms all go flying off the steering wheel. And, it took a few seconds for everyone to kind of like get their wits about him. But we backed up and everyone, got back on course. Levi takes off and we take off and run our race. Well, the race goes on. Lap 5 clicks by. Lap 7 clicks by. Lap 9 clicks by. And there's maybe the worst thing that you can see in racing besides a car fire would be the leader catching you. That means you've been lapped. And we're right around lap 9. This was a 12 or 13 lap race. And my wife radios in and says, guys, look out, the lead car's coming up on you. Not seconds after that, we hear a siren, we make some room, and sure enough, it's the lead car. We get past, and as the guys driving past us, we look over and see it's the number 81 car driven by Levi Shirley. And I'm looking at my co-driver, I'm like, what are we doing wrong? How is this guy on the side of a mountain crashing to a tree behind us and then is able to get around the whole rest of the field and lap us? So I'm like, what are we doing different, that this guy's doing that we're not? I was like, you know what, Josh, my co-driver, like, we're dropping in behind him and I'm driving as fast as he is no matter what. And so we floor it. And the crazy thing is, his pace was only like 5 to 7 miles per hour faster than what our pace was. But here was the difference. That extra 5 to 7 miles per hour felt like we had gone to warp speed. I mean, trees and limbs and rocks and roots were flying at us faster than we could see them. I'm bouncing all over the place. My co-driver's about to have a heart attack, yelling and screaming at me to slow down. And so, we've ended up dialing it back, but we probably paced Levi for what was like maybe 10 or 12 seconds, before we wadded up the car. But in that time, and then watching him drive off, I got to see from a really unique perspective his style, and it was so smooth. He looked like water flowing through a canyon. It was really cool to see. So anyway, we race on, and sure enough, not half a lap later, we get caught by second place. So we hear the siren, we make some room, and it happened to be Wayland Campbell. And now what was cool about this was not only was Levi and Wayland battling for first and second place in this race, but I think at the time they were battling for first and second place for points nationally. So it was really cool to see these guys just running head to head. And same thing, I turned to my co-driver and I'm like, Josh, we're going to pace Wayland. I want to see, what is this like to drive with the lead cars? And so we drop in behind Wayland and we're flooring it. And it's the same thing. He's like 5, 7 miles per hour faster than what our other pace was. But again, 10 to 12 seconds later, we honestly thought we were going to explode the race car. And so I slowed down and we got to watch Wayland race off. But here was what was so unique about that. And that was where I described Levi as water, flowing through the trees. Wayland was like a raging bull. Their style, at least from my perspective, could not have looked more different. Wayland was on 2 wheels on this corner and 2 wheels on this corner, and all 4 tires were throwing rooster tails going to the straight. It was awesome to watch. It was awesome to try and keep up, but really cool to see, these guys running first and second place with so different driving style. So anyway, Wayland takes off and we race on, and we get about half a lap around the course again, and we're coming down this really steep hill that goes into a 90-degree hairpin turn at the bottom. And on the other side of this turn was basically a cliff, I would say, not to be too dramatic, a ledge. It led into a creek, and this was a shelf road, and you have to really be careful going around this turn because you don't want to go falling off the cliff. We swing wide, and before I could even cut my wheels, there's this honk smash, and we get hit so hard in the back that it lifted the front wheels off the ground, or it felt like it anyway, and we go sliding into this tree. And fortunately, the tree was there because I think it saved me and this other guy from sliding off into the creek. And this guy backs up and turns around and starts to pull out on the shelf road. And as we're backing up and coming in behind him, we notice it was the blood orange single-seat race car driven by Mr. Tom Ways. So he was in third place. And I look over at my co-driver, and Josh is just shaking his head saying, "Don't do it." And I go, "Josh, I'm dropping the hammer." And so we tried to follow Tom and keep up with his pace. And here's what was so crazy about that. Whereas I followed Levi and Wayland for like 10 or 12 seconds, Tom was gone within 5 seconds. I mean, he was gone. I've never seen someone in all of my racing drive so fast through such a precarious section of race course. And so, very quickly we slowed back down and got back into our own pace. But it was so cool to see, really, truly how talented those 3 drivers were. So anyway, the race comes to an end, and we got like 13th place. So really had a great day of racing, a ton of fun competing against some really top talent. And actually, after the race, Tom Ways came and found us and apologized for hitting us. And he explained that his brakes had gone out, and he saw us as he crested that hill, and he was saying, don't slow down that turn. And, apparently we slowed down that turn and, thus causing being a part of the collision. But anyway, great guy, great time competing against this top talent. And I can tell you, after racing for 7 or 8 years against a lot of these guys, it is very clear as to why they are the fast guys.